Hey everybody, welcome to YouTube. We are here with the top doctors, the top breast cancer doctors in New York and around the country. We're also joined by the folks from Komen and Adelphi who are here manning the phones, answering your questions. Again, the doctors here are not diagnosing people, but they are taking your questions. And if you have something you want to ask, sometimes we've heard things like, I have a lump, it hurts. I heard if it hurts, it's not cancer. Is that the case? Well, we're going to talk to, thanks, son. We're going to talk to some doctors in just a second. Also, we should let you guys know in a few minutes, we are actually going to be live on the Megyn Kelly show. So if you happen to be on YouTube, you can also look at your television and we'll all be there together. So we're going to go around the room and just talk to some of the doctors and hear what questions that they're getting. Let's go to Dr. Manassa. Hey, hon, how are you? It's great to see you. I know you've been getting a lot of questions. What's been one of those recurring questions that you feel like people want an answer to at home?
Two big questions. One is nutrition. Is nutrition something that can impact your breast cancer risk in any way? I usually tell my patients that it's just like when you were in kindergarten. Eating your green leafy vegetables, avoiding fatty foods are good steps towards decreasing your chances of getting cancer, not only in the breast, but everywhere.
Right.
And our second question, which I got from a call, which is very interesting, is that to remind everybody that men also do get breast cancer. It is not as common as it is in women, but when men feel a lump or anything abnormal in their breast, they do need to be checked because men, once caught as early as women, can be treated and saved just as well.
What about that question? Because I had a friend who thought she felt a lump, and she said, you know what, it hurts. So I heard that if it hurts, it's not cancer. There are some things that are missed. Will you clear that up?
Sure. So pain is not necessarily what we use as an indicator as whether it's cancer or not. It's a compilation of symptoms. I think if anything abnormal in your breast, if you feel a mass, whether it hurts or not, needs to be evaluated.
Yeah. All right. Thank you so much. Again, keep your questions coming, your tweets coming. Dr. Margulies, hi, how are you? You've been manning the phones. I've been watching you all morning. Tell us what the recurring question you're getting is.
So the questions revolve around screening. Should I get screened, and how should I get screened, and when should I get screened?
Okay, and tell us the answers. First let's start with people who do not have a family history of breast cancer. When is the first time they should get screened?
So that's an easy question. Begin screening mammography at age 40 and continue every year as long as you're healthy and expect to live another 5 to 7 years.
Now, what do you say? Because some women have gotten mammograms and things weren't picked up there just because the mammography isn't sensitive enough.
So that's true. Mammography is not perfect. It's getting better all the time, but still not perfect, even with the 3D mammograms. So if you have dense breast, you should consider supplementing that mammogram with an ultrasound, even if it's a 3D mammogram. And then if you're at high risk, MRI is our most sensitive test that we have.
Do you request those yourself as a patient, or do you rely on the doctor to help you with that?
So there's a lot of shared decision making that goes into it. So do you want that breast ultrasound? Are your breasts dense? In general, you will know from your mammogram last year. It'll be on the mammogram report. And if you live in 30 states, including New York and Connecticut and New Jersey locally, you will know if your breasts are dense because it will be in the letter that you got that told you your mammogram was normal or not.
Great.
So then it's up to you and your doctor if you want that supplemental screening.
I mean, I remember my boss told me this, and this was kind of the good news about breast cancer. I remember when I was telling him that I was diagnosed with breast cancer, and he said, Hoda, I know a lot of women with breast cancer, and they all have one thing in common. I said, what's that? And he said, they're still here. The survival rate is high if you catch it early.
That's absolutely true. The survival rate is close to 90%. It becomes really high for those people with stage 0 and 1 breast cancers. But we know also that people who get screened have a much higher survival rate. And actually, most women who die from breast cancer are not those who've gotten screened. So the message is clear. Mammography saves lives.
Hello, good doctor. How are you? Will you introduce yourself, please?
Yes, I'm Dr. Benedetto.
It's great to see you. Tell me, you've been manning the phones all morning, too. I've been watching you. You've been giving a lot of great advice. There are many things that women are confused about, but what would you say the overriding theme is with the calls that you've been getting today?
Actually, I got calls from from many directions. They want to know when to start breast cancer.
Yeah.
They want to know when to stop breast cancer screening.
When do you stop? We talked about when you start, which is at age 40, but when do you think you should say, I've done it enough?
Many organizations say that 75 is the time to stop, but you also have to look at your patient. Do you have a patient who has she's very healthy, she is doing very well, she has a very active lifestyle? You might want to continue. But if a patient has different medical problems that will actually make it difficult for her to have the screening, and the screening will not mean so much in terms of life expectancy, then you might want to stop at that age. So it all depends on the patient.
Sure. Okay. And again, we should point out that our doctors here can't diagnose, but they can give guidance, and that's one of the great things that's happening here. Dr. Ruth Oratz is here. You happen to be working on my team too. What questions are you getting, Doctor?
Well, I'm getting a lot of interesting questions, Hoda. 2 people called in and asked about male breast cancer, and it's important to point out that although we think of breast cancer as really a women's problem, breast cancer can happen in men, particularly if there's a family history or other risk factors. So I did want to shout out to the men to be aware about this as well.
And do you do screenings the same kind of way?
Well, in general, men don't need annual screening for breast cancer, but if there's a family history or a concern, start with an exam and then follow up with your doctor and see if more screening is necessary.
A lot of people wonder if they have breast cancer in one breast, what they should do with the other, because you think you're going to have that fear, that overriding fear that, here it comes again.
So that's a great question, and there are some indications for us about what's the risk of cancer in the opposite breast, contralateral breast cancer. Again, if there's a genetic susceptibility to cancer, so coming back to that family history and genetic testing and screening, we are way beyond just the BRCA1 and 2 genes now. So when people go in for genetic counseling, there's a panel of 23 different genes we can look at. That may help us know, are you at risk for cancer in the opposite breast? Syndromes like lobular carcinoma in situ, LCIS, and I've had a couple of calls from people saying, gee, I've had that. I've had a biopsy that shows LCIS. What does that mean? Could mean an increased risk of breast cancer.
Dr. Oratz, it's great to see you. Well, hello, Dr. Massey. How are you? We have a psychiatrist. This is very, very important. I'm only going to have a couple of minutes, and then we're going to go live to Megyn Kelly, and I want to come back and talk with you. But what goes on in your head is so important during this time, isn't it?
Oh, breast cancer for any woman absolutely is a horrible, horrible event. And not just for the woman, for the people who love her. Her friends, her family members, her partner, her spouse, her kids. It's a really tough time. Fortunately, I think increasingly there are mental health professionals who specialize in working with family members, working with women who have breast cancer, and are there to help you think through decision making, what to do next, who to do it, where to do it, think through the timing, and walk through the process with you as you go through cancer treatment.
So I think a lot of women, when diagnosed, think to themselves, I've got to sprint to the doctor, get the surgery, and go, go, go. And they're going 100 miles an hour, and they don't take a second to breathe. Like, cancer takes time to grow.
Yes, it sure does. And, you know, some people often start to talk through with a counselor or a therapist after they've gone, as you described, and now all of a sudden they say, what hit me? I got to process this. Like, what does this mean to me and my life and my career, the people I care about? So it's time to slow down and think through it, and that sometimes takes months.
Yeah, and I think, they always say when you make a decision, such as whether or not you should get chemo or what you should do, you have to be able to put your head on the pillow and sleep with your choice. Because I think some people feel like I've got to go as aggressive as I possibly can, and some people say they're not sure, but it's important to be at peace with your choice.
It's your choice, and you know, a lot of the calls we've received today are actually from women who've made a good decision, clearly had excellent advice, and really want to be told that, yes, my decision to do what I decided to do was right for me, and I feel good.
Okay, thanks, Dr. Massey. Can barely hear her, Megan. Hi, Megan. Hey, honey, how are you? Yes. You're absolutely right. When you choose a doctor, as you know, Megan, I mean, they're all very, very, very qualified. Then you have to choose someone who you love. Like, that's what I figured. I figured once I knew the person was medically awesome, like Dr. Freya Schnabel is, then after that, I just chose the heart, and Freya was the one for me. And especially when you're going through a scary time like that, you're thinking to yourself, oh my God, I don't know if I'm going to be able to handle this, but she walked me through it. Well, as a confession, I really didn't ever get a mammogram. I sort of found it accidentally when I went to the gynecologist, and it ended up being cancer. And I worked a health show. I was actually telling people to go get mammograms, and I didn't do it myself. But I have to say, they still caught it early with me. It was stage 1, and a lot of people here are talking about those kinds of things. But I have to say, if you survive breast cancer or anything, you get 4 words. And those 4 words are, you can't scare me. Because you have overcome that. And what you realize after you've come through the weeds on something as terrible as breast cancer and you're still standing, every decision you make is easy. The world snaps into focus. And there is kind of a silver lining at the end of it all. I mean, you don't realize it when you're deep in it, but once you emerge, I got to tell you, Megan, life changes in a way that you didn't expect, and in a good way. And I think a lot of women are learning these things, and we're hoping that our experts are helping guide them on the phones today. Oh, I love her. Thank you. All right, kids, we're still rocking and rolling. That was really good. So I'm going to go to the Komen. Let's go to Komen. Hi, guys. We were just on Megyn Kelly. Okay. Should we talk to the Komen folks? Come on.
Is YouTube live still going on?
Huh? Are we on? We're still on. We're on YouTube. Hi. Hang on, I'm going to sneak in here. Sorry, Jimmy.
Hi. So it says I think screening mammography for women up to age 70 years is recommended.
Yep.
So with no obvious lumps, then it's up to you to decide whether or not you want to do that mammogram.
92. Yeah, one of the doctors was saying,
Right here.
hi, how are you? Hey, how you doing, sweetie? Let us know. We're on YouTube Live. Just want to know what kind of calls you're getting the most of.
So hold on one second. So we're mostly getting calls from women, either they have had a finding and they want to know what to expect upon the diagnostics, or they have questions about their family history and what kind of screenings they should get.
And you're transferring calls, sending them over to the doctors. Can I say hi?
Yes.
Hi, it's Hoda. Who's this? Absolutely. Well, we were just speaking with one of the doctors, and she said, as long as you don't have a family history after 75, she was saying that you don't need to continue getting screened. So, according to the doctor here, I think that you're all right. Would you like to speak with her? Okay, we'll transfer you over. All right, thank you. Yeah, we're getting a lot of calls, you guys, here, and the folks from Komen and Adelphi are really working hard. Sorry, I'm just kind of navigating through the studio. Hi, guys. It's okay, we're on YouTube. Come on, Marianne. Marianne is one of the ones who was organizing all this and got all the doctors together. This is great. Yeah, you guys, this is great. We're getting a lot of people. I don't want to interrupt phone calls, but again, you can give us a call here. The doctors, top doctors from around the country are sitting here in this room today. Marianne, what's the phone number? Hang on, we're getting it. Getting the phone number real quick. 212-790. There it is, 2290, 212-790-2290, hashtag Pink Power Today. You can tweet us. We're looking at your tweets, or you can email us at pinkpowertoday@NBCUni. Again, we're on YouTube, and we're taking all of your questions. As soon as this good doctor is finished with her phone call, I'm going to talk a little bit about the other part of a diagnosis, which is the emotional part, the part that affects a lot of people. And I remembered when I was going through it too, you have to be able to be sort of at peace with choices you make in your treatment. And often some people will tell you that you have to do, the highest caliber of chemotherapy, and some will tell you that you don't need it. Let's talk to Dr. Natalie Azar. Hey, Dr. Azar, how are you?
Okay.
A lot of people are talking, there are questions about treatment too, and I think often you think to yourself, well, I need to get the most aggressive treatment no matter what, because what if it comes back? And sometimes we should point out that with aggressive treatment, it also has its drawbacks.
I know. I feel like what's missing in the breast cancer discussion right now, or where we're behind a little bit, but getting there, is with the whole genomic idea and biomarkers, right? To really be able to, with more confidence, tell a patient who has an earlier stage breast cancer, this looks like the one that's going to progress. We've done these stories before, rather than a one size fits all, that you have this diagnosis, therefore you get X, Y, and Z, and that's your protocol. But I think, I think in the doctor's office, that conversation is changing. Patients are much more aware. They're knowledgeable. They are their own advocates, and they really tailor it to that specific patient. If you listen to these wonderful experts here, they have a whole team. They have counselors, they have oncologists, they have surgeons, they have radiation oncologists who can devise a specific plan for the patient.
All right, doctor, can I talk to you before you take your call? I'm sorry, I didn't mean to interrupt. But we were talking about treatment, and again, sometimes it's a tough choice. I remember when I was going for my post-cancer treatment, one person said to me, well, you need chemo. One said you don't need chemo, and one said you can't make a mistake either way. And some friends were saying, opt for the more aggressive. But you get confused in those kind of situations, and sometimes aggressive treatment, has its drawbacks too.
I think the good thing about breast cancer today is that there are so many options with respect to treatment. We come up with our treatment regimens based on the literature, what studies have been done, what the research has shown. And in some cases, we can tailor our therapies much more than we used to, where we just give chemotherapy or not. That's why all this confusion is happening. It's actually a good thing. And the reason you have so many options is because in some cases, you can either go either way and still do well in terms of your survival, in terms of recurrence of disease. And I think at that point, when you do have these multiple options, the best thing is to figure out what's best for you in terms of where you are in your life, how active you are as to picking the best therapy, because you are really good at also continuing surveillance, and if God forbid something did come back, we can address it as well. So targeted therapies is your best way.
Yeah, that's good. You have to be able to put your head on the pillow, don't you, at the end of the day?
Hello, absolutely. That's what you want to do.
Yeah, doctor, I feel like we keep talking about, we've made strides in these things. And in the 10 years since I was diagnosed, how are things changing with everything from imaging to diagnosing? What's been changing? I feel like everyone's wearing pink ribbons and walking around, but you wonder what's happening.
So lots of things have changed in the imaging world. So one thing is the switch to digital mammography. 10 years ago, maybe a quarter of the machines in the United States were actually still analog. Now there are less than 150 analog mammography machines, and about 28% of our machines are 3D tomosynthesis. So that's a big change. 10 years ago, we used ultrasound to tell if something was solid versus cystic. Now we use ultrasound for screening. Big change. MRI is changing as well. We're using it a lot more often, and we're trying to make the protocols for MRI a lot shorter and a lot faster so that many more people can have breast MRI. And then there are many other changes. Molecular breast imaging is coming. Contrast enhanced mammography is here and growing. So there are many more things coming down the pike that we see. Automated breast ultrasound is something that's a whole new field coming too.
If you fast forward 10 years from now and look ahead, are you an optimist? What do you see in the field of breast cancer, and how close we'll be to curing it or catching it even earlier?
I think we're going to make lots of strides. I think our chemotherapy is going to get better and better and easier on the patients. A lot more switch to oral from intravenous. I think in the imaging world, we're going to see marrying of mammography and ultrasound, so both things can be done at the same time seamlessly. I think we'll see more comfortable compression, maybe a little less compression, and everybody would like less compression. So I think we're going to see more comfortable paddles and less compression. And hopefully we'll end the confusion and people will know that yearly screening really does save the most lives.
Okay, thank you, doctor. Yep. Oh yeah, we've got some Twitter questions. Let's go. Okay. All right. Okay, here's a question since we're on the phone here. Wesley asks this: cancers are usually identified by their location, like breast cancer. Is that the only thing that makes it different? In other words, there's kidney cancer because it's in the kidney. It's breast cancer because it's in the breast.
So whatever cancer is, you want to know where it is. So if it's in your colon, you want to know if it's in the part of the colon near your appendix, or if it's in the right upper quadrant or left upper quadrant or down below. Likewise, for the breast, you want to know where in the breast is that cancer. Is it near the nipple? Is it near the armpit? Is it on the inside or the outside? Because that affects what treatment options you have.
Okay, good. All right, let's see. This is a question for our psychiatrist. You're busy? Look, everyone, you know what? Here's the great thing. Everyone's on the phone, so it's too, you know what? I'm sneaking right back up on you. Erica asked this: my friend just started her treatment. How can I be a good support for her?
So that's a great question. So being a good support means different things to different people. So knowing your friend and knowing the person's situation. It might be picking up children from school or taking them to their after-school activities. It might be providing meals. It's knowing your friend, not waiting for somebody to ask, but being proactive.
Yeah, it's an emotional thing, doctor, when you go through this kind of treatment, and some people don't know how to be. When it's a friend or a family member, I'm sure you've been touched by it, obviously, in your life, too. So what advice do you have for someone who's not quite sure how to react to a friend or family member with breast cancer?
I think I often tell family members that just be there. I think just go with the flow with what the patient needs. She'll let you know in one way or another, and if she says nothing, then just be there. I think a lot of people who get diagnosed don't know what to do themselves, what they need, and I think someone just being available to them is often very helpful.
That's great. Yeah, those are great answers. Here we go. Let's see. Okay, why don't we start over? Breast cancer runs in my family, doctor, she says. I'm only 27. When should I start getting mammograms?
Well, it's a very good idea for you and your family to seek advice from a genetic counselor to see if they can identify inherited predisposition for breast cancer in your family or for other cancers. And for you, if there's multiple relatives, you need to be very aware of any breast changes, a new lump, a bloody nipple discharge, seek attention right away. If the breast cancers in your family were occurring at young ages, the rule of thumb that we follow is that you should start getting your mammograms 5 to 10 years younger than the youngest age at breast cancer diagnosis.
Okay, that's important. So you figure out when your mom or aunt or somebody had it, and you subtract 5 years, 5 to 10 years, and that's when you should get your mammogram. So Jay Starnes is saying it runs in her family, and she's 27. When should I start getting mammograms? So she should find out when her mom or grandmother was diagnosed, and then do the math and do it from there. All right, that's important. Let's see. Okay, this Twitter question, we'd have one last one. She was diagnosed currently with stage 4, and she wants to learn about new treatments, just in a few seconds.
We're learning so much more about metastatic breast cancer. Komen, with the bold goal, is investing millions of dollars into research for metastatic breast cancer. The treatments are getting better, and women are living longer with stage 4 breast cancer. We need more research.
That's a good note to end on. I want to thank all of our doctors who came here from, these are the top, you're looking at the top doctors in the country, you guys. This is a big deal that all these women, these doctors are here with us today. And we want to give a big thank you to all the folks from Komen and from Adelphi for helping out. And we want to thank you guys at home on YouTube for watching us too. I mean, I think this is a good service for everybody. I know you have a friend or family member who's been touched by it if you haven't been touched by it yourself. So the good advice is to reach out. People need love, especially now. Thanks for watching, you guys.